Hi everyone. Can you all hear me? Hello? Can you all hear me? I think there is a breaking at the background.
Hello, Collins. There's a lot of background noise. Can you just have a check?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm noticing the same thing. Is it much better now?
No, no, there's still a lot of background noise.
Okay, just give me 2 minutes. Let me see if I can change the location. Can you all hear me now? I guess it's better. Am I audible? Can someone confirm? Okay, thank you. So today we'll be looking at a very important topic, uh, the Asian Parliamentary debate, judging fundamentals and mastering the act of oral adjudication. Sorry, I won't be putting on my camera to avoid any network break or lots of noise and fallback. So just bear with me. If I get a better signal, I might likely turn on my camera. So having said this, I welcome you to this workshop. Basically, we'll be looking at the Asian parliamentary system of debating. We'll look at adjudication. We'll look at how to improve and how best to give your oral adjudication, what it entails when it comes to being an adjudicator, and what the debaters expect from you, and what you as a judge, as a chair, as a panelist is expected to do there are different because in BP it's only the chair that has the right to give OA, but in Asian parliamentary system of debating or in APD, every single person is expected to give OA. The rankings or the feedback of the judges are primarily going to be based by the debaters themselves. It's not like in BP where the chair has to give feedback on the panelist and the panelist does the same. Unlike that, in this format, the debaters themselves have the sole responsibility of grading, crediting, and giving feedback to all of the speakers, or rather to all of the judges. So that is what we're looking at today in this workshop. Let's start. Please, can you move on to the next slide, please? Um, can you move on to the next slide? I can't control the slide from here. Okay, thank you. So the next slide we have Introduction to Asian Parliamentary Debate APD. Here it's a form of debate where there are defined rules, where we have team government proposition and team opposition. Now the difference here is in BP we have the opening government, opening opposition, closing government, closing opposition, making up of four teams, four different teams with different roles that they perform. But in APD, we have just two teams, the proposition team, which is the government, and the opposition team, and then which is characterized as either negative or opposition. Also, the speakers are arranged in a very similar order like that of the British Parliamentary, but the difference is we have three speakers in APD and they are grouped as the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Government Whip. On opposition, we have the Leader of Opposition, the Deputy Leader of Opposition, and Opposition Whip. Note in British parliamentary system, all of these other guys are still represented, but the thing is, a team has to be DPM and PM. Another team has to be LO and PLO. Another team has to be member and then whip. I think that is just where the difference is. And the purpose of APD is to promote critical thinking, increase public speaking, and then help people with structured argumentation. That will, it makes it in such a way that just two teams are going to compete in a particular round of debate. Thereby, the first team takes a first and the other team takes a second. Also note when it comes to ranking, in BP, there are three rankings. We have the first, second, third, and fourth. In APD, we have just the first and second. There is no third and there are no fourth. Just two teams that compete in APD. Let's move over to the next slide.
Collins, you're muted, I think.
Okay, sorry. So the next thing we'll be looking at is role of judges. So what are the roles of judges when it comes to Asian parliamentary debate? I think this is where we need to also define a particular clarity because in BP, the major role of judge is just to ensure that they carry the panelists along because of the level of adjudication that happens in British parliamentary debate style. But in APD, it's not like that. One, there are nothing like discussions in APD style. So because there are nothing like discussions in APD style, both the chair and the panelists are almost the same in rank. The only thing is the chair just helps to coordinate and then ensure that the round goes smoothly. But when it comes to role fulfillment, every judge, from the panelist or wing down to the chair, has the same responsibility, as they are expected to do the same thing. That is why at the end of the day, the decision for a chair to break or for a panelist to break in Asian parliamentary debate lies in the hands of the debaters themselves, which is going to be determined through the level of feedback each judge receives. Unlike British parliamentary system of government, most times for a panelist to break, the large percentage of their performance has to be determined by the chair that they are judging with. So that is where there is a lot of differences in the approach of the roles of judges in British parliamentary system as compared to that of the Asian system. So let's move. The role of judges, firstly, it is the duty of judges in Asian parliamentary system to assess the quality of arguments, evidence, and presentation of everything, because you need to weigh these things for you to be able to give proper feedback to the speakers. Secondly, the judging criteria has to be one, on content, second, on presentation, third, on method or structure. Why is this important here? You could be surprised that there is something like judging criteria in APG. The reason is this: since it's a team of two teams, a debate round of two teams, you must, because everyone is doing the same thing. For example, the third speaker in Asian parliamentary style of debating, which is the whip, is not expected to bring entirely new arguments that are likely not going to be something that has been discussed within the debate. At this particular point, if it is in British parliamentary system of government, the member of government and member of opposition has every right to extend and take the debate to other form. But then in APD, the extension and the introduction of new matters and everything ends at either the DPM or the BLO. The whip simply has the role to come summarize and then give a general overview of what the round has been. So here, for you to credibly win most of your arguments, you need to stick within the context that has been framed by the theme. For example, in British parliamentary system, a member of government can come and decide to argue justice instead of arguing human rights. It is still permissible. But in APD, government whip or opposition whip cannot come on and leave the scope of what the debate has been and then begin to bring in new things he or she feel that this may make more sense within the debate. If such is done, what it primarily means is that the person has gone off behind the rule or behind the structure of that particular round. And there are every tendencies that either they foot that round or the person gets a very, very low speaker score. So we emphasize on judges to ensure a fair and unbiased evaluation of debates, because those are not like the BP where you are dealing with 4 different teams with different ideological perspectives. Unlike that, in this aspect, you're dealing with just 2 teams that has the same, or rather a contradictory view, but then sticks to the main ideological stance of the debate. Hence, it's only when a judge observes and takes real note of objectivity that he or she can be able to adequately do justice as regards to your role as a judge in Asian parliamentary debate style. Next slide, please. So the next slide is the fundamental principles of judging. The first thing is impartiality. Here, you must try as a judge to avoid biases. Most debaters and judges are at a point in time you are judging your friend or you are judging your institution, and then there are always tendencies that bias is going to exist. We appeal to judges to ensure that to the best of your knowledge you uphold a fair, objective, critical, clear view of the debate without necessarily trying to be biased. Because since it is APD, if you are biased, at the end of the day, the teams will obviously know. Unlike debate round where BP, where if two teams give you 5 or 10-10 and one team decides to score you low, you are likely going to break. But in APD, if the two teams decide to score you at a particular point, the chances of your break will drop drastically because it is on the average input of feedbacks that determines the level or the number of judges that are likely going to break in every Asian parliamentary debate format. The next thing is objectivity. We appeal to judges to focus on arguments presented, not personal beliefs. Why is this important? Sometimes we see adjudicators or judges So we appeal to debaters sometimes to put away your personal biases and then try to be objective and then focus your argument on what has been debated. For example, if you're a medical doctor and debaters are arguing things that has to do with health, yes, because they are not doctors themselves, there are chances that they may argue things that are not very 100% true in the medical world. As a judge, it is unprofessional for you to judge those arguments using your own personal belief and your own personal ideology because you're a medical doctor or because you are an engineer. You feel like they missed the point. Those things are something that can make debaters feel like, oh, these judges is judging us using their own personal belief or judging us using their own time. It makes it bad for judges to move on. The next thing is on consistency. What do we mean? This simply tells you as a judge, the best way to do well in a debate is to maintain a consistent method by applying the same standard to all the teams in the debate. Why is this important? It is unfair to you to say, let's say, Team India argued the reproductive system as a very important aspect of the human body and human existence. Hence, that argument is clearly shown that they understand the role of reproductive system. Then it now comes to, let's say, Team Pakistan, and you are like, Team Pakistan failed to prove, therefore you felt that their argument was not very good because you felt they missed a lot of things. Even you begin to make it look like debaters sense a certain sense of double standardization in your adjudication, it's going to affect you because those debaters are expected to weigh you from the way they have judged you to judge that particular round. and hence you cannot at any particular point compromise your consistency or then choose to favor a person and decides to disfavor another person. If such happens, it's going to affect your chances of moving forward and breaking in those kinds of tournaments. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next slide is now the judging criteria. I grouped it into matter, manner, method. The first is matter. What do I mean? Here, I talk about things like relevance and logical coherence of arguments. Those matters that has been presented by the teams, what is the logical coherence? Does it make sense to the argument that is being presented within the debate? Are there something that ordinarily what or something that makes sense to the debate itself? The next thing is quality and use of evidence. Was the argument just regurgitation of statements, or are there just nuances without facts? Some people likes to make a lot of arguments, give references to things that are not really existing. So when you are making debates, example, let me use this current okay, let me talk about the Russian um, Russian-Ukraine war, and then you are trying to make a comparison between Russia and Ukraine war to that of, let's say, Egypt and the Egyptian war and all the Gaza thing, and your basis of analogy as something that is not in any way weighing the same two in a very clear metrics. The delta link you are using to compare the both wars as something that is not factual. At that particular point, you are already missing the quality and evidence of your argument. They don't lack comparison, and therefore it may likely affect you winning. And then as a judge, you need to note this: when is a debater giving a quality argument that has to do with proper evidence that can be traceable and then can be linked within the debate. The next thing is engagement with the opposing team's argument. I encourage judges to look out for this. If a team does everything well in a debate and fail to engage other teams within that particular debate, that is not a debate round. How do I mean? If the argument is on redistributive justice, justice that say an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and a team comes up to tell you why redistributive justice is likely not going to do well in a world where individuals has gone on to take actions against things that are happening, and at the end of the day they fail to engage that redistributive justice that has been framed or has been established as the major thing that needs to be considered within the debate. Those teams have not done engagement. And because of the comparative engagement that happens within that particular round, it is unclear why that particular team should win. Because you cannot win an argument when you solely run that argument on your own line. What do I mean? You begin a principle and then you stick it to your own personal ideological thinking. You don't engage it, you don't compare, you don't compromise, you don't even engage other teams' argument. It's going to make that debate to be messy and a one-sided debate. And then therefore, any team that does those kind of thing in a debate round cannot automatically win that particular round, because for you to win a debate round, you must be comparative, you must be analytical, and then you must be, in the very practical sense of it, be engaging to all other teams within the debate, because the nucleus or the goal of the debate is when you are engaging and then you are trying to compare and engage other teams within that particular debate round. I think that is one thing that most debaters fail to understand. The next thing to talk about is the manner, and the manner has to do with the attitude and structure of how you present your argument. This matters because sometimes people don't know that the manner of argumentation is something that can be linked to how you either respond or how you either try to do justice to the argument that is being presented. So let's talk about the manner of approach. I listed a couple of things there, and then one of them includes clarity and persuasiveness of your speech. How is your speech persuading? Is your speech so personal? Is your speech so convincing? Are you so persuasive, like you're trying to convince the adjudicators and then the teams why you think this particular motion should stand? For example, this house supports the abolition of criminal justice system. Why do you think criminal justice system should be abolished? Do you think that it has failed to provide its benefits to the people? That is the end of persuasiveness. Most times, it is the role of adjudicator to determine and then know a team that is persuasive. How are they convincing? How are they trying to convince you as a judge to buy their matter and to see them that what they are saying makes sense? Most times, people don't consider the importance of persuasiveness when it comes to argumentation, but it is something that you have to look into as a judge, as a panelist, and as a chair. Because if a speech lacks persuasiveness, it automatically means that they don't have the buying matter of convincing you as the chair, as the panelist, why they deserve to win that particular round. The next thing is effective use of voice, gestures, and eye contact. Since this is an online tournament, the most important thing is effective use of voice. How do you communicate with the adjudicators? Is your tone making sense? Are you too loud? Are you don't use or do you speak very low that it becomes very difficult for the judges to get your point? All of these things are things that debaters need to factor into, that things judges are taking clear notice of as they move within the debate. The next thing is the method, the structure and organization of the debate. How do you structure your debate? Do you start with the topic? Do you start with the argument? Do you start with the conclusion? Do you start with the conclusion and then end with the conclusion? How do you structure your debate? How do you structure your debate? How do you structure your debate? Before we jump to another matter, the speech structurization is what matters. For example, PM, and you are debating on this house supports the gay child right. Firstly, as a PM, the first structure you need to talk about is why is girl child right important? What is the problem within the status quo? Do you think that the girl child rights has been neglected within the status quo, and therefore this is the major thing you need to structurize within the debate? If you begin to then take your speeches from the very most important thing to the very least important thing in the debate, it makes it easy for debaters and for judges to flow. For example, I do tell people that every debate expect every motion or every debate round you are expected to do three things: the are, the why, the how, and the when. The why helps you to answer the question, the problem of the status quo. The how helps you to talk about the implementation. How are the things that you are going to do going to be carried out to ensure that that thing you are pushing for is going to bring effective change? And then the when is, when do you think those policies you are pushing for within that debate is important? When do you think the girl child rights should be promoted? If you, as a debater, can structure your speech to how, why, and when, there is no round that you cannot effectively win because it answers all questions that judges, judicators, and other debaters may respect you within that particular debate. The next thing is time management. No matter how bad or good you think you are, try to speak within 7 minutes, 15 seconds. Don't overspeak above your time, and don't assume that you have a lot of time so you don't end up speaking little. And then don't think that time is little so you don't end up speaking very little too, that you end even before your time is over. The last is adherence to rules and responsibility. Like I said, this is a tournament that has a particular rule. The only way that you, as a judge and as a speaker, can go well is how you are effectively maintaining the orderliness of sticking to the rules that guides the tournament. And that is what the judges takes notice of, because those are the things that helps judges to rank you, grade you, and to score you. Next slide, please. So the next slide is common mistakes in judging. First is bias. I think as judges, you should not allow personal preference to affect judgment. No matter how you love or like or regard a speaker, do not allow those personal preferences of them to affect your choice of ranking or judging a particular round. The next thing is overemphasis on style, prioritizing clarity and engagement over substantial argument. I've talked about this. No matter how good the argumentation is, if it is not engaging and comparatively engaging to all other persons within the debate, that cannot be prioritized. Lack of engagement, failing to consider all arguments made during the debate as something that you as a judge should not even take for granted. Lastly, inconsistencies. When people decide to apply different standards to different teams, as a judge, ensure that you do not favor team A and decide to be rude to team B, or because of your choice of preferential treatment. Those things are going to affect you moving on in your career as a judge. It is better for you to maintain a particular consistency. For example, if the CAP reads your feedback and they see things like the judge always try to point out errors, and it's better to have that than to say we feel that this judge is biased to our team and we think that the judge is not quite, we're having such things that when speakers comment and talk about how biased you are is something that can affect your career as an adjudicator, and then can mar you in breaking in most tournaments. Next slide, please. Best practices for effective judging. The first is note taking. As a judge, try to keep detailed notes of key points and counterpoints. If you don't keep notes as a judge, there is no way you can prove whatever happened within the debate. So key note keeping or note taking is very, very important. Comparison. Continuously compare the relative strengths and weakness of every team. As every teams are speaking, compare them, see where they are weak, because those things are going to help you to further structure your personal feedback on them. Next thing is providing constructive and specific feedback to help debaters improve. Why is this important? If you don't give feedback to debaters, they are likely not going to understand the things that they didn't do well. And because they don't get those feedback, they may come to the next round doing the same mistake that you faulted them in the previous round. Next one is collaboration. Work with other judges to reach a consensus in a debate that requires you to reach a consensus. In a debate that don't require you to reach a consensus, don't bother doing that. Like, for example, APD, you are just going as a solo panel. I don't think there is anything like consensus, but in things like BP, you have to work as well to reach consensus with your other judges and the chair. Next slide. Mastering the act of oral adjudication. The first thing is preparation. As judges, review notes and organize thoughts before delivering the oral adjudication. It is important for you to calm down to understand the notes you've taken and review them to see that you are not in any way biased against any team. People don't take this very seriously, and as it goes on, you discover that a lot of errors are being made by judges. That is why debaters tell you, Judge, I think you misunderstood my argument and all of, because most times judges just rush into the adjudication without properly, taking time to reflect on what they have written. And it is important to take notes of this so you don't go there disgracing yourself and making it look like you don't know your role as a judge. The next one is structure. Introduction. Why is this important? Briefly talk about or brief overview of the debate before you begin your adjudication. Tell them this debate is what has happened, this is what you discovered. I call it general feedback. Start by saying teams did this, teams did not do this. I felt teams should have done this, teams should have done that. Those things is giving them a general overview of the debate so that even somebody that wasn't there would understand the place and what made you prioritize all the teams within the debate. General overview also helps debaters to see the reasons why the chair, the judge, the panelists ranks them the way they rank them. Then the next is body, detailed analysis of key arguments and rebuttals. Because this is an Asian parliamentary debate, you must try to give that detailed analysis of how every team responded and then rebutted, or rather engaged other themes. Then the last is clear explanation of the decision and winning team. You must be able to ensure that you give clear explanation why you ranked a particular team over another. If you don't do this, they will assume that you are just a biased judge who outsmartly judged them. The next thing is delivery. When you are delivering your OA, how do you do it? Be confident and articulate. Ensure that you, as a chair, as a panelist, that you are not shaky in your voice. Don't make it look like you are not even trying to defend what you've judged. Be confident and then articulate all the reasons why you gave the rankings the way it is. Nobody is going to beat you. Nobody is going to fight you. What debaters need to understand is the reason that made you rank them fourth, fifth, first, or second. Next is maintain a neutral tone. Don't shout, don't give your OA in a way that makes it look like you're automatically biased against anybody. Be in your best form of neutrality, maintain professionalism, and ensure that debaters understand that what you are doing is not in any way to favor or mar anybody. The last is ensure clarity and avoid jargon. Sometimes don't make use of words that debaters never spoke in the debate. You cannot come and tell them that you felt this argument is on a placid way. Most debaters do not talk about placid or do not talk about lesser improvement. Use terminologies and terms that are within the debates that the debaters has talked about, something that they can relate to, and then leave your professional, personal, and all of those jargons that has little or nothing to do within the debates. Next slide. Delivering constructive feedback. The first thing is positive reinforcement. How do I mean? Before you end up, talking about why you think a particular team deserves to have lost a debate, look at the strength perspective. This is personal feedback now. So feedback has to do with the constructive emphasis, analysis of a team's speaker's performance and how they should improve. So try as much as possible to talk about the strengths of the speaker, what they did that you, the judge, by, and then before going on to their weakness. Specificity, provide clear examples to illustrate points. Try as much as possible to give examples to why or what led to the points or reasons of your adjudication. Next is actionable advice. Suggest specific ways to improve or for these debaters to improve. You cannot be a good judge if you do not tell debaters, try to read up this, try to do this, and try not to do this, because those ways are what is going to help them to improve better. The last is encouragement. Try to motivate debaters to continue improving. No matter how bad a debate speaker is, for that speaker to come back and debate another round, it depends on how the judge gave him or her a personal feedback. So let us try as judges to ensure that you encourage, motivate, and give people the reason why they should come back and contribute positively more to winning a particular debate round. Next slide. Case studies and examples. So, example, analyzing a well-structured executed government bench speech. As a judge, you should be able to analyze how a government bench speech went, because if you cannot analyze their cases, it's going to affect you in terms of your oral adjudication. Also, you should be able to evaluate an effective rebuttal by the opposition. I call it weigh in and the delta link. When I throw up the arguments of the proposition, how does the proposition respond to this particular argument? What are the things that they probably did well that I felt that, oh, they should have done this very well, or that they shouldn't have done this very well? This then makes you to be sure of what you actually need to help them improve on, and how they are likely going to see those things as a form of trying to, better themselves, and then try to improve themselves better, especially moving on in the next round. The very last thing is critiquing a government and opposition's whip summary, because sometimes most judges, it is important for you to listen to the whip's argument, because there I call it the bias evaluation of the debate. Every team has the responsibility, the right, the focus, and all it takes to biasly summarize the debate. So you as a judge, don't disregard or neglect whip speech simply because it is the whip and obviously the very last speech of the tournament or of that particular round. When you do this, you are likely not going to understand some certain things that you need to clearly, look into as regards most of the arguments that may have happened within that particular debate round. Every speaker is important, every argument matters, and understanding how you dive into those arguments as something that is going to help you to build your oral argument in such a way that debaters themselves understand that yes, this judge was very articulative, was very understanding, and they gave credit to all the things that we spoke within that particular round. Next slide, please. So interactive segment, how you can be able to do yourself. I think as a judge, always practice judging a mock debate. Just go online or ask your union, just come, let people debate any debate. It mustn't be just a serious tournament. Just judge randomly and then try to evaluate them. Then have group analysis and feedback on the adjudication panel. Like when you work with people, try as much as possible to allow people to have you discuss with them, let them give you feedback on your adjudication. Try to ask them, did I do this well? Do you think that I was able to get this? If you keep doing this as time goes on, you begin to improve on so many areas that you may have not been doing well, because it's more like the more you do it, the more you become more improving, and then the more you see yourself performing above the ultimate standard that is needed. I think this is the end of my presentation, and we've gotten to the question and answer segment. Anybody can unmute, ask questions. I will be sure to engage and respond to you. And you can also request for the presentation slide so you can go through it and you can meet me, reach out to me any day to ask further questions or for anything you would need more clarity on. Thank you all. So this is time for question and answer. You can obviously, you know, ask any question you want. Thank you. I don't know if anyone has any question. OC, can people unmute and ask, or should they post it on the text? Anyone?
Yes, yes. I think they can unmute and ask.
It seems nobody has a question. So was everything very clear? I just want to ensure that we are all on the same page before we could call it a day, because I'm sure it's like it's almost 9 o'clock p.m. in India. I'm sure of that.
No questions. Like it was a good, wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Pratush. Thank you, Adita, and all the OC for this. I am so wonderful. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I appreciate you all, and good luck to all of us in the tournament. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It was very informative.